Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of betrayal, infidelity, and redemption, raw, honest, and deeply human. Each episode dives into the tangled lives of those facing heartbreak and hard choices, where truth isn't always clean, but growth is always possible. Now on to today's story. Exit Strategy. Part 1. Curated Chaos. Chapter 1. Live-streamed lies and concierge confidence. The condo was quiet. Too quiet for a Saturday afternoon in a building where most residents treated privacy like a fetish and white noise like a performance art. Julian Park, 38, CEO of Helix Biosystems and shareholder in 2 out of the 3 kombucha companies that mattered, stood barefoot in engineered hardwood flooring, staring out at False Creek like it owed him an explanation. Down below, paddleboarders weaved between bobbing sailboats and rented kayaks. Perfectly curated chaos. The kind influencers lived for. His wife, Mia Lynn Park, Instagram handle at Maya Themedern, was currently at a brunch collab in Kits. Translation: bottomless mimosas, a charcuterie board, and a location tag timed to imply productivity. Julian had reason to believe she was not in Kits. He also had reason to believe that their primary bedroom, with its linen-spritzed pillows and artfully posed skincare shelf, had hosted more than product demos lately. What gave it away? Maybe it was the unfamiliar scent of men's cologne. Not cheap, but not his. Or the way Mia's content schedule got suspiciously light whenever he flew to Toronto for board meetings. Or maybe it was the concierge, Miguel, slipping him a look last Tuesday that read, "Bro, you sure you're the only husband?" Julian wasn't the type to explode. That was inefficient. He preferred systems. The building had 24-hour surveillance, facial recognition at the lobby, and a private security firm with a side business in NDA enforcement. Julian, who once built a protein mapping algorithm to catch a co-founder stealing IP, knew a thing or two about clean data extraction. So he made a call to Miguel. "Hey, do you still want that side hustle managing Helix Bio's product launches?" "A beat." "Yeah. Good. I need some footage pulled. Just timestamps. June 3rd, June 7th. And last night." Miguel hesitated. "You want lobby cam? Or elevator?" "Both," Julian said. "And the service hallway. Suite 2802. Let's keep this between entrepreneurs." By Wednesday, he had the clips. A man, mid-30s, soft jawline, wore a minimalist blazer like he practiced his angles in hotel mirrors, entered the building twice in 1 week, always when Julian was conveniently out of town. Same unit. Same code punch on the elevator pad. Julian watched the footage once, then muted it and watched again with a protein shake in hand. That night, Mia came home wearing a look of light fatigue and light guilt. She kissed him with just enough effort to avoid suspicion. "Brunch was exhausting," she sighed. "They made us pose with beet hummus." Julian nodded. "I saw. It looked seasonal." By Sunday, he'd filed for divorce. No screaming. No confrontation. Just a file folder, a notarized letter, and a security video burned onto a flash drive labeled Strategic Exit, version 1.0. She called him a sociopath. He countered with, "That's a strong word for someone who monetized our cat." And that was that. Case study addendum. Internal memo, Helix Biosystems. Subject, CEO Insights. Image control in volatile scenarios. In this week's strategic leadership briefing, Julian Park discussed real-world application of Helix Bio's crisis modeling protocols. Via a personal case study involving domestic betrayal, optics management, and digital forensics. Key takeaways. Always control the footage. Don't confront, contain. Image isn't just perception. It's leverage. Chapter 2. PR, NDAs, and that one time a VC hit on him. Julian Park never cried in public, but he did once wince audibly when a Bloomberg podcast mispronounced Helix Bio as Helix instead of Hell 9. That, for him, was vulnerability. So when news of his quiet divorce slipped onto Vancouver Modern, a lifestyle gossip blog disguised as a real estate investment newsletter, he knew where to look. Mia. The article was light on facts, heavy on adjectives. Biotech mogul Julian Park and wellness icon at Maya Themedern are parting ways. Sources say the split is amicable but image-sensitive, with no comment from either party. Mia continues to focus on her brand collabs and upcoming skin tech line. Brand collabs. Of course. It had taken Julian exactly one meeting with her lawyer to realize this wasn't about settlement. It was about narrative. She wasn't just managing the divorce. She was marketing it. On Wednesday, he got a call from Rowan Liu, the youngest partner at Clearstone Capital, and someone who made the word ruthless sound aspirational. Julian, she said, I just read the gossip blog. Great. Always how I hope my biotech reputation stays sharp. Don't worry. I don't care about your marriage. I care about this quote they attributed to you. Control the footage, control the outcome. Julian frowned. I never said that. Well, you should have. Because I think you're onto something. You're sitting on a hell of a prototype. A prototype of what? Reputation engineering, she said. You tracked a betrayal, optimized your exit, and protected your brand equity. It's like Palantir, but for relationships. Please never say that again. Come pitch it, Rowan said. Seriously. We're drowning in AI dating apps that can't even match shoe size to commitment level. What you did, that's surgical. Sexy even. I'm not building an app for high net worth men to stalk their girlfriends, he said flatly. Why not? That's what she's going to do, Rowan replied. You think Mia's not going to twist this into a revenge glow-up campaign? She'll be on every podcast within a month. Julian stared out the window at False Creek again. It was misty, cold, and beautiful in that expensive Vancouver kind of way. A perfect place to betray someone politely. Fine, he said, but I'm calling it exit strategy. That night, he sketched the wireframe on a napkin from Ernest Ice Cream. Step 1. Input social timelines and travel overlaps. Step 2. Passive behavior pattern flags. Step 3. Digital trigger alerts. New follower within 2% proximity range. Step 4. Legal prep toolkit with instant NDAs and mediation leads. Step 5. Narrative control dashboard. He sipped his bourbon. Noticed Mia had finally blocked him on Instagram. Noticed it with satisfaction. Then he made one small addition at the bottom of the napkin. Optional feature. Emotional recovery mode. Beta. Results may vary. Meanwhile, on Mia's Instagram story, sometimes, what breaks you also builds your audience. I'm grateful for the heartbreak. I'm even more grateful for the brand growth. Hashtag rising above. Hashtag new chapter. Hashtag sponsored by Matchamind. Julian reposted it to his private Slack channel with one word. Use case. Chapter 3. Whistler, Wellness, and Weaponized Wi-Fi. The lodge was filled with the scent of eucalyptus, VC desperation, and wealth pretending to be casual. Julian hated Whistler. Not because of the mountains, he liked mountains fine, but because this particular innovation and impact retreat was crawling with too many men named Grayson who wore Allbirds like they were tactical gear. He'd been invited by Clearstone Capital as a disruption case study and quietly bribed Rowan to frame the session as a startup debrief, not a public airing of his marital collapse. He hadn't packed for confrontation. He'd packed for silent networking and early exits. What he got instead was Mia, standing under an enormous screen that read, Keynote. The power of uncoupling. A journey from betrayal to brand. She wore white. Flowy. Radiant. She looked like she'd just finished meditating on a glacier. Julian, by contrast, was in a black merino hoodie and grim resolve. He slid into a back row seat. Rowan passed him a mimosa without looking at him. This is war, she whispered. I thought this was a climate tech summit. Same thing. Mia's presentation was polished. She opened with a slide showing her crying on a paddleboard. Caption, real tears, real strength. Then shifted into metrics. 72% engagement growth post-divorce, 11 new sponsors, and a forthcoming memoir titled Soft Launch. Building a brand while breaking down. Then came the kicker. We've been trained to see betrayal as collapse, she said. But what if it's just bandwidth reallocation? Oh, come on, Julian thought, sipping bad coffee. And then she dropped it. Her app. Untethered. An emotionally intelligent breakup assistant that guides users through real-time closure, content reframing, and vibe rebranding. It was sleek, pretty, and deeply manipulative. He nearly choked on his mimosa. Rowan leaned over. Do not let her win, Whistler. 3 hours later, Julian presented exit strategy in a breakout session optimistically titled Relationship Risk Modeling in the Age of AI. He kept it clean. Cool. Objective. Exit strategy is not about spying, he said. It's about strategic disengagement, reputation integrity, asset shielding. Emotional clarity for founders and high-visibility professionals. Someone from Shopify asked if it included a burner phone protocol. Julian smiled. Version 2.0 will. Laughter. Nods. A few too many taking notes. Rowan texted him mid-pitch. You're crushing it. Don't look now, but Grayson from Cobalt Ventures just added betrayal optics to his LinkedIn bio. That night, he ran into Mia at the bar. She was sipping something green and expensive. She didn't flinch when she saw him. In fact, she smiled. I liked your app, she said. Thanks. I liked your branding. Very palatable betrayal. Clean endings sell, she said. So does silence. He clinked her glass gently. To leveraging the narrative. To monetizing the pain. They parted with a nod. And as Julian walked back to his suite, he felt, if not happy, then at least aligned. Focused. Ready to scale. Exit strategy download count. 2,340 and climbing. Untethered podcast debut. Trending number 4 in Canada. Julian cracked his knuckles, opened his laptop, and began coding version 2.0. New feature. Narrative countermeasures. Subtitle, because sometimes you need to win the breakup before it wins you. Chapter 4. Ghost Protocol and Moral Gray Zones. The first sign things were spiraling was when a man named Dale Arbor, a semi-retired real estate consultant, tried to expense exit strategy through his holding company. Julian read the email twice. Subject, bug report, or maybe feature request? Hi Julian, love the UI. One thing, the automated NDA won't process if she's already seen the footage. Can it be retroactive? P.S. Does your concierge do freelance? Rowan forwarded the message with the subject line. Congratulations, you've entered the divorce industrial complex. By week 3 post-Whistler, exit strategy had gone semi-viral. Not TikTok dance viral. Reddit thread of shame viral. A user named it Ghost Protocol 82 posted a glowing review. Used exit strategy to catch my girlfriend cheating with my therapist. App flagged overlapping location data. Matched Amazon purchase history. 5 stars. Therapist now working at Yugo Juice. Julian closed his laptop slowly. He designed a sleek tool for rational breakups among emotionally constipated executives, not a digital crowbar for the morally unstable. The next call was worse. A divorce attorney named Silvana Leung asked for enterprise access. I'd like to onboard my top-tier clients, quietly. Hedge funders, pro athletes, one guy who owns a mattress empire. Julian blinked. This isn't software as a service for scorched earth divorce. That's literally what it is. He hung up, then rebranded his homepage overnight. Exit strategy, ethical tools for clean breaks. Our mission, minimize fallout. Maximize clarity, not revenge. Resolution. Rowan called 5 minutes later. You realize ethical tech is just code for low revenue? I'm fine with that, Julian said. I'd rather die broke than help Dale from Richmond weaponize facial recognition on his third wife. Pause. You know she's the one funding Untethered now, right? Julian stared at his oat latte in betrayal. Mia, of course, was thriving. Her podcast, soft launch. The podcast had just secured a deal with a vitamin gummy company and featured a recent episode titled, Why He Had to Lose Me to Learn Me. Guest, a couples therapist with 1.1M followers and a line of hand-poured candles. Julian listened to 8 minutes before deleting the app and running 5 kilometers around the seawall, muttering, optics are warfare, under his breath like a lunatic. That night, he sat at his kitchen island and asked himself a question that had been building quietly, like mold behind a backsplash. Did I build something useful, or just something clever? His inbox pinged. A message from a woman named Lucy, 41, UBC prof, recently separated. No weird red flags. Just, hi. I used your app. Not for betrayal. For closure. It helped. Thank you. P.S. It would be nice to have a button that just says, let go. Doesn't need to do anything. Just be there. Julian stared at the screen a long time. Then opened the codebase, found the UI module, and quietly added a button. Let go, functionally inert. Symbolically useful. He pushed the update live. Exit Strategy 2.0. Now featuring a useless button that made everything feel just a little more human. Subscriber feedback, overwhelmingly positive. Even Rowan admitted, fine. That's actually kind of beautiful. Chapter 5. Lucy, Lattes, and a last-second landmine. Julian never thought he'd agree to a coffee date that originated from a feedback form. But there was something about Lucy's message, no drama, no emojis, just clarity, that appealed to the part of him that liked clean lines and emotionally literate people. She chose the cafe, a little corner spot in Mount Pleasant that served pour-over with smug jazz in the background. Not his usual scene. She was already there when he arrived, reading The Economist, with a visible eye roll at the barista's attempt to upsell a $7 cookie. Julian liked her immediately. Lucy was not what Julian expected. Older than Mia by a few years, but with none of the polished menace. She wore jeans, glasses, and a slightly judgmental cardigan. A UBC sociology prof who specialized in digital power dynamics. She'd found exit strategy through a Reddit thread titled, "Apps That Don't Make You Feel Like Garbage." "Your app helped me realize I wasn't crazy," she said. "Just edited out of someone else's highlight reel." Julian sipped his Americano. "That should have been my tagline." "You're welcome." They talked for 90 minutes about algorithms, image curation, and the ethics of mutually assured digital destruction. She was sharp, funny, a little cynical. She even admitted she'd reverse-engineered the app's behavior tracker just to see if it respected user privacy. It did. Mostly. He hadn't smiled this much in months. When he got home, he opened his laptop, stared at the untethered press kit in his inbox, and deleted it without reading. But of course, Mia wasn't done yet. 3 days later, she launched Untethered LA with a Times Square billboard and a post that read, "I didn't leave him. I left the version of myself that tolerated him." Hashtag West Coast glow up, hashtag healing is hot, hashtag untethered and unbothered. Julian's phone exploded. Rowan, did she just publish your marriage as a SaaS origin story? Lucy saw the billboard. Would recommend wine. Dale from Richmond. Is she single again or what? Julian calmly opened the Notes app and typed, "New feature idea. Digital restraint protocol blocks user from clapping back with screenshots." Then closed it and poured a glass of wine instead. Later that night, he found himself walking the seawall with Lucy, talking about what it meant to be emotionally responsible in the attention economy. She turned to him, smiling. "You built a breakup app, Julian. But maybe what you really need is a follow-up app." "A what?" "Something quieter, gentler, less about exits, more about reentry." He laughed. "That sounds dangerously like feelings." She shrugged. "You're in False Creek. Everything here is reclaimed." Exit Strategy now had 6,700 users, a clean UX, and a founder who wasn't broken, just recalibrated. Mia was in LA, monetizing sadness. Julian was in Vancouver, walking into something new, without needing a camera or an NDA to protect himself. Just showing up. Part 2, Reframe. Chapter 6, Prototype Softness in a Hard Market. Julian stood in front of his whiteboard, holding a marker like it was a weapon and a crutch all at once. The top read, "Reframe, because not everything needs to burn." Underlined twice. Then scribbled out. Then underlined again. This wasn't like Exit Strategy. There was no drama to anchor the user journey. No burning need to win the breakup, control the narrative, or preempt the podcast ambush. Reframe was for the aftermath. It was designed to gently surface relationship patterns, no shame fonts, offer closure prompts that didn't sound like TED Talks, use AI to recommend not posting that sad Instagram story, encourage human connection, not virality. He'd even added a journaling feature that quietly deleted entries after 48 hours unless the user flagged them as meaningful. Lucy called it digital composting. "You're building emotional Tupperware," Rowan said flatly during their weekly call. "Why?" "Because not everyone needs to scorch the earth to move on." "Sure. But does it monetize?" Julian thought about Lucy, about walking the seawall, about her letting go button suggestion, about how good it felt not needing to win. "It doesn't have to," he said. "This one's for dignity." Long silence. "You're disgusting," Rowan said. "Fine. I'll quietly test it with a few emotionally literate people in poly situationships." Beta testing went surprisingly well. One user wrote, "I didn't even realize how much I'd outsourced my self-worth until I filled out the 'What story were you telling yourself?' prompt. I cried. Then I ordered pho. Thanks." Another said, "This app stopped me from sending an angry voice memo at 2 a.m. That's worth $4.99 a month." Julian smiled. This was the opposite of virality. It was repair. But then, on a Tuesday, just as the app was about to soft launch, Rowan sent him a link. Mia, she was back in Vancouver, wearing an oversized blazer, sipping a branded matcha, announcing, "So excited to be partnering with Haven Residences to launch a luxury breakup co-living space for women. It's time to detox in real life, not just online. DM for a tour." Hashtag untethered IRL. Julian stared at the screen. Lucy, sitting across the table, sipped her coffee. "Well, that's something. She's building a breakup resort. And you're building self-reflection. She's going to win the attention war again, isn't she?" Lucy smiled. "Maybe, but you're finally playing a different game. Reframe launches quietly next week. Untethered IRL hosts an influencer healing circle featuring face yoga and forgiveness screaming. Julian isn't trying to go viral anymore. He's just trying to be useful. And that might be the most rebellious thing he's ever done." Chapter 7. Clean Money, Dirty Hands. Julian wasn't expecting a courier. Yet there it was, a sleek white envelope hand-delivered to his False Creek condo by a guy in joggers and the soft menace of branded Zen. The letter inside was printed on thick, unpunishable paper. Proposal, strategic acquisition of Reframe. From the desk of Mia LeClaire, creative lead, Untethered IRL. She didn't even use her lawyers this time. It was personal. Rowan nearly short-circuited when she saw the numbers. "She's offering $3.2 million, Julian, with a platform integration clause and full founder equity rollover. She wants to buy Reframe," he said slowly, "and bake it into her brand spa." Rowan nodded grimly. "Call it mediation as a service. The term made his stomach flip, like a mindfulness retreat held in a Tesla showroom. Julian skimmed the addendum. Mia had even included a mock-up of the future UI. Let go replaced with shed. Reflection prompts turned into glow-up affirmations. New tagline. Reframe, from breakdowns to brand building. He stared at it, hollowed out. Later, over drinks at a Main Street speakeasy that smelled like reclaimed cedar and controlled sadness, he showed the pitch deck to Lucy. She frowned, sipping her Negroni. "She wants to white-label your conscience," she said. "It's very on-brand." Julian exhaled. "I don't know what's worse, the money or the fact she gets it." "She doesn't get it. She gets attention. Isn't that the same thing?" Lucy reached for her glass. "Only if you're still trying to win." He didn't sleep that night. He sat with the offer, with his values, with the knowledge that he could finally, definitively beat Mia by joining her. That was the trap, of course. It wasn't a buyout. It was a reckoning. Did he want to be rich, or did he want to be right? The next morning, he emailed Mia. Subject: Re-offer. Thanks for the generous proposal. I'll pass. Reframe isn't designed to scale into spectacle. And honestly, your glow-up affirmations gave me hives. Wishing you all the curated healing you can monetize. J_, he hit send. No NDA. No footnotes. Just clarity. 2 hours later, Mia posted a reel titled, "When They Say No But You Know You'll License It Anyway, Nail Polish Medium Light Skin Tone, hashtag Power Moves, hashtag Exit Strategy." Who Rowan texted. "You know she's going to build a knockoff, right?" Julian replied, "Let her. Mine actually works." Reframe user growth that week, up 27%. Churn rate, negligible. Lucy, still around. Not everything needed to scale. Some things just needed to stay clean. Chapter 8. Artificial Integrity and Other Oxymorons. Julian didn't mean to become a thought leader. He'd turned down every podcast, every blog, every venture capital panel that offered him a platform after declining Mia's offer. All he wanted was to keep Reframe modest, ethical, and useful. So of course he woke up to find his face on the homepage of Tech Ethos Weekly, under the headline, "Meet the founder who turned down millions to protect a button that does nothing." Subhead: Julian Worthington's Let Go feature is redefining dignity in digital UX. He groaned into his pillow. Rowan sent a voice note. "You've gone full monk tech. Just wait until Apple tries to copy it and calls it Feel OS." Later that week, he was invited to speak at a global ethics in tech roundtable, hosted at a glassy UN-adjacent building in Geneva with actual linen napkins at lunch. Julian, being Canadian and slightly allergic to public praise, declined politely. So Lucy applied on his behalf and forged his signature. "You'll thank me later," she said, sipping chai. "Or sue me." Either way, we'll grow. He didn't thank her, but he did show up. He gave a talk titled, Opt-outs and Aftermaths, Designing Tech That Helps You Leave, Not Win. It was quiet, strange, well received. One of the delegates, a German venture analyst, told him afterward, "You made heartbreak sound like protocol instead of pathology." That's very northern. Julian had no idea if it was a compliment, but it felt like one. And then, because Mia was allergic to not being the center of the emotional economy, she launched Untethered AI. Her caption, "What if your breakup coach was available 24/7, wore cashmere, and never judged you for texting him? Meet Reframer, your emotionally intelligent healing assistant." Julian stared at the screen. There was a sleek, rosy-hued digital avatar named Reframer, who spoke in breathy tones and said things like, "You're not broken, babe. You're just post-narrative." Rowan texted, "This is the first AI I've wanted to sue for emotional negligence." Lucy simply sent a gif of a dumpster fire. Julian considered lawyer letters. He really did. But he knew Mia. This wasn't theft, it was derivative dominance. She didn't want his code. She wanted his aesthetic restraint, covered in glitter and buzzwords. And that wasn't a lawsuit. That was a test. So he wrote a post on the Reframe site. "We are not affiliated with any avatars, coaches, or programs calling themselves Reframer. Our button does nothing. That is its power." It went quietly viral. People made merch. Someone tattooed the phrase, "My button does nothing," on their thigh. Even Mia reposted it with a caption, "Ugh, obsessed. Always adored his minimalism. Hashtag mutual respect, hashtag intellectual foreplay." Lucy read it aloud and looked at Julian. "Are you two going to sleep together again or start a court case?" "Why not both?" he said, sipping wine. "This is Vancouver." Reframe crossed 10,000 users. Untethered AI debuted on a float at Pride. Julian stopped checking her stats. He wasn't trying to win the breakup anymore. He was just living after it, and that felt radical enough. Chapter 9. Growth Pains and Documentary Threats. Julian wasn't against growth. He just hated the vocabulary of it. Scalable architecture, user acquisition funnels, therapeutic stickiness. Reframe was never supposed to scale. It was designed to end things. Quietly, ethically, without 28 onboarding screens and a mascot in a beanie. So when the angel investor from San Francisco asked to chat over Zoom about expanding the Reframe emotional utility stack, Julian's left eye twitched hard enough to trigger Siri. He did the call anyway. The pitch? We'll integrate real-time sentiment analysis, partner with digital journaling apps, and build a Reframe-certified coaching program. We're talking self-work as a service. We could even launch avatars that speak in your tone of voice. Intimacy with minimal effort. Julian blinked slowly. That sounds like a product designed to replace consequences. The investor smiled. That's literally what people want. Julian declined. Politely. Then dramatically. He powered down his laptop, went outside, and walked the Falls Creek seawall like it owed him rent. Lucy met him halfway. Let me guess. Someone offered to turn Reframe into a cult-light emotional retail machine with subscription regrets and a yoga font. You missed intimacy avatars, but otherwise, yes. She looped her arm through his. You said no? I said hell no. Lucy smiled. There's hope for your species yet. 3 days later, Mia made her move. She announced Refractions, a story of love, loss, and leverage, a limited documentary series streaming exclusively on Crave, Apple TV, and a suspiciously glossy YouTube premium channel. The log line, she built a brand. He built an exit strategy. Now, they faced the algorithmic truth of their breakup in public, where it always lived anyway. Lucy spat out her wine. She pitched your divorce as a startup origin story and a cautionary tale and a redemption arc. Julian just stared at the trailer thumbnail. It was a photo of their old living room, back when it had white furniture and love. He looked tired in it. She looked luminous. The caption read, "He designed a button that did nothing. I pushed it." Julian didn't call his lawyer. He didn't tweet. He just updated the Reframe homepage. Our button still does nothing. That remains our greatest feature. We are not in the documentary business, but we do help people leave the people who are. It got 4,000 retweets. Someone printed it on a coffee mug, another on a tote bag. Lucy said it should be a tattoo. Again, at a small event in Kitsilano called Tech for Tenderness, Julian gave a quiet talk titled, How to Build Tools That Don't Sell You Out. He didn't mention Mia once. But people knew. And that was the difference now. He didn't need to explain himself anymore. He wasn't trying to win, or reframe, or burn down her empire. He was just building something small that still made sense. That was enough. Reframe hit 25,000 users that month. Mia's doc got optioned for a spin-off podcast. Julian stopped checking her engagement altogether. He had other things to do. Epilogue. The button still works. They held the Reframe retreat on Bowen Island, at a former meditation center with 2 mini wind chimes and a single working espresso machine that hissed like a therapy cat. There were no hashtags, no branded mugs, no selfie booths with pastel affirmations. Just 25 people, a few uncomfortable truths, and a lake so still it felt curated. Julian wasn't even supposed to speak. Lucy had insisted he come just to be. No agenda, no press, no Mia. He hadn't fully believed that last part until he checked in and saw her name not on the list. That alone was worth the ferry fare. On the second day, just after a group journaling circle titled, When You Let Go, Who Are You? He found Lucy sitting on the deck with a plate of cold hash browns and a gin and tonic. She didn't look up. You okay? She asked. He nodded. She took a sip. You know, your app might be the most emotionally literate piece of software I've ever seen. That's a low bar. Still, they sat in silence for a while. Waves lapped against the shore. Someone in the distance tried to play Leonard Cohen on a ukulele. Badly. It was perfect. Lucy turned to him. Do you ever miss it? He raised an eyebrow. Miss what? The war. The spectacle. Her. Julian looked out at the lake. Thought of the old condo. The security cam footage. The pitch decks. The AI clone. The documentary. Then he thought of now. I miss the espresso, he said. But not the circus. Lucy smiled. That's personal growth. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Open Reframe. Scrolled down to the bottom of the home screen. There it was, the let go button. Still soft blue. Still unflashy. Still honest. He tapped it. It did nothing. It was still perfect. The Yandy, or maybe just the beginning of quieter things.